Chris's joke was received as funny, as evidenced by the audience and Will Smith laughing. And this is the moment where we got to see a live-action, real-time encapsulation of how cancel culture works. Look at what happens next. Jada shoots her husband a look. Let's slow the tape down to capture this moment. Before this moment, Will is laughing because he hasn't yet found out that his original, genuine reaction is wrong and that he should conform.
Bill Maher isn't holding back as he digs into Will Smith's infamous Oscar slap, adding salt to an old wound. Everyone knows the moment, but Maher's ruthless breakdown of Smith's fake tough guy act is next level. He mocks Will's so-called manhood, calling it cheap theater and pure ego on display. Get ready, it's brutal.
Breakdown jokes for the humor impaired. Not that I have anyone particular in mind. Now, I know we're all sick of talking about the slap, but I'm sorry, one more thing needs to be said. Comedians have been under attack for quite some time, and I need to stick up for my tribe. This war on jokes must end. So tonight, let's Zapruder film this thing once and for all and explain jokes to idiots.
So you heard the man, and he's absolutely right. For years, jokes have been under attack. First, the woke crowd targeted movies, dictating what could be made and what should be canceled. Now they've set their sights on comedy, trying to control what people can laugh at. It's as if their mission is to drain joy from every corner of entertainment. But Bill Maher isn't built to stay silent while free speech gets choked out. Tired of the woke mob's ever-growing list of forbidden humor, Maher finally stood up, ready to fight back with his trademark wit, truth, and unapologetic fire.
The Oscars, Chris Rock came out to present a boring award and first did what he is supposed to do, get some laughs doing what we comics call crowd work. Denzel and Javier Bardem each got spritzed. And then Chris made what in the business is known as a "some shit is like some other shit" joke. He said to Jada Smith, "Jada can't wait for G.I. Jane 2, recalling the late 90s movie starring Demi Moore. That's it. That's the joke. You remind me of some other beautiful, buzz-cutted movie star. It wasn't an alopecia joke any more than the one about the chicken crossing the road is about bird flu."
This part is genuinely fascinating because honestly I never viewed it from that perspective before. I always knew about the Jane asterisk reference, but it never clicked that Chris Rock's joke was directly tied to the shaved head look from that movie and Jada's hairstyle that night. It's such an obvious link once you think about it, yet most people missed it entirely. Still, the bigger lesson here goes beyond that. Comedy isn't meant to be analyzed like a political debate. Jokes can hurt or they can make us laugh, but either way, we've got to toughen up and take them in stride. That's what real, unfiltered humor is all about. Now, let's roll the clip.
Although insult humor is also a staple of comedy. And in fact, an example of insulting someone's looks was on display that night when Regina Hall said, "We've been dealing with COVID for 2 years. It's been really hard on people." And Amy Schumer said, "Yeah, just look at Timothy Chalamet," and they cut to J.K. Simmons. Who made a face a lot like the one Jada would make later on. But that's where it ended. It's called being a good sport, especially when you're a rich celebrity. Let the common people take the piss out of you for one stinking minute. And
award shows these days have basically become open season for comedians and hosts to take shots at rich, powerful celebrities. It's almost part of the script now. Audiences expect to see these glamorous stars, who are usually adored and untouchable, get humbled by a few sharp jokes. Personally, I'm not a big fan of turning the stage into a roast session broadcast to millions. It feels a bit cruel at times, though I get that humor has its role. Still, in a free world, comedy will push boundaries, and if someone's pride takes a hit or their ego gets bruised, that's just the price of sitting in the spotlight.
Importantly, Chris's joke was received as funny, as evidenced by the audience and Will Smith laughing. And this is the moment where we got to see a live-action, real-time encapsulation of how cancel culture works. Look at what happens next. Jada shoots her husband a look. Let's slow the tape down to capture this moment. There. Back and to the left. Back and to the left. Back and to the left.
The moment that puzzles everyone is how Will Smith initially laughed at Chris Rock's joke about Jada, only to instantly change after her cold, piercing stare. That sudden transformation speaks volumes about the power dynamics in Hollywood and the so-called woke elite. Deep down, many celebrities don't genuinely believe in every progressive cause they loudly endorse. Yet, like Smith reacting under pressure, they feel forced into obedience. The fear is real, defy the narrative, and you risk your reputation, brand deals, or entire career. It's not moral conviction guiding them anymore, it's pure fear disguised as virtue, a silent obedience masquerading as courage.
This moment, Will is laughing because he hasn't yet found out that his original, genuine reaction is wrong and that he should conform to a different view. And he's the one who's being manly? I've seen the same syndrome happen in comedy clubs. Woke hecklers who literally have to wait for the laughter to die down before they yell, "That's not funny!"
Will Smith may have believed in that split second that defending his wife on live TV was the honorable, manly thing to do. At first glance, it seemed noble, a husband standing up for his partner. But a closer look reveals something very different. What happened on that Oscar stage wasn't strength, it was surrender. True masculinity isn't about striking someone in public, it's about self-control and staying grounded under pressure. Initially, Smith laughed at the joke, showing he understood it was harmless. But the moment he saw Jada's cold expression, everything changed. Her disapproval rewrote his reaction and he traded his composure for impulsive emotion. What was meant to look like protection instead exposed vulnerability, a man more focused on earning approval than embodying principle. In that moment, Smith didn't show power, he showed how fragile it can be when guided by others' expectations.
War on jokes must end. Will Smith didn't get kicked out of the Oscars for going Ike Turner on Chris, but Kevin Hart got kicked out of hosting it for a joke. Who are these people who say cancel culture isn't a real thing? Just among comedians who've gotten fired and lost gigs for exercising their freedom of expression, the toll is high. Gilbert Gottfried and Kathy Griffin were tasteless. So what? That's why we like them.
Comedy can sometimes be tasteless, offensive, or simply not funny, but that doesn't mean it should be canceled. The art of comedy has always thrived on risk, challenging comfort zones and pushing social limits. If a comedian's jokes don't sit right with you, the answer isn't censorship, it's choice. Don't buy their tickets, don't stream their specials, and don't show up to their performances. Humor is deeply subjective. What offends one group might entertain another. Silencing comedians for crossing personal boundaries only weakens creative freedom. Of course, if someone's act crosses into truly illegal territory, that's a matter for law enforcement, not online outrage. Until then, the solution is simple. If you dislike it, ignore it. Comedy's power lies in its diversity of voices, not universal approval. Real freedom means having the right to laugh or not without demanding others share your reaction.
Humans are the ones testing where the line is. We can't always be perfect any more than Tom Brady will never throw an interception. Dave Chappelle lost distribution for his documentary, and Sarah Silverman was fired from a film over an old sketch where she wore blackface to make fun of racism. Roseanne lost the TV show she created with her name on it over tweets that were very offensive, but not at all clear Roseanne knew them to be. She is crazy, and I say that as a friend.
Sarah Silverman's story is a fascinating example of how satire can backfire in today's hypersensitive culture. Her controversial blackface sketch wasn't meant to mock or belittle black people. It was designed to expose the ugliness of racism and force viewers to confront it head-on. Through dark comedy, she aimed to highlight how prejudice corrodes both individuals and society. Yet, rather than recognizing her intent, the so-called woke audience fixated solely on the imagery, missing the nuance entirely. Outrage replaced understanding, and Silverman became the target of the very outrage she was critiquing. Ironically, her effort to challenge racism through humor turned her into an example of how easily good intentions can be misinterpreted. Her experience reveals how modern cancel culture punishes even those striving for progress, silencing the kind of open, uncomfortable conversations that true social growth demands.
Wasn't pulled off stage, but comedian Nimesh Patel was literally pulled off stage during a performance at Columbia for a joke about how hard it is to be gay and black. Not an anti-gay joke, mind you, a pro-gay joke. But one of the event organizers walked on stage and said, "I don't think you're entitled to certain jokes you're making." Well, a sense of entitlement certainly is a big part of the problem here, but not on the part of the comedian.
Now this is where things take a bizarre and fascinating turn. Comedian Nimesh Patel was literally dragged off stage in the middle of his performance, not because he mocked the woke crowd, but because he made a joke that actually supported their point of view. Think about that for a second. How can that even make sense? It's as if today's outrage culture has reached a stage where absolutely nothing is acceptable anymore. If a comedian makes a joke against their beliefs, they're instantly condemned. But if they craft a joke that agrees with them, somehow that's offensive too. It's a no-win situation. Comics are now performing on a razor-thin wire where every word can spark backlash. Patel's experience proves it's not really about humor anymore, it's about control. Comedy isn't being challenged, it's being censored. And that's a frightening place for art to be.
The people who can't take a joke now aren't old ladies in the Bible Belt. They're Gen Z at elite colleges. Colleges where comedy goes to die. Kids used to go to college and lose their virginity. Now they go to lose their sense of humor.
Colleges were once the heart of free thought, places where students debated, challenged, and sharpened their minds through exposure to different ideas. The purpose of higher education was never to create conformity but to cultivate critical thinking through intellectual diversity. Today, however, many campuses have strayed far from that mission. They've become echo chambers soaked in ideological rigidity, where opposing views aren't debated but condemned. Students are being taught to silence dissent rather than engage with it, to treat disagreement as a personal attack instead of a chance to grow. This culture of fragility doesn't strengthen minds, it weakens them. Instead of preparing young adults to face the complexity of the real world, universities are producing graduates who have never had their beliefs truly tested. And that's a dangerous shift for any society that depends on open dialogue and genuine intellectual freedom.
Recently interviewed college bookers who revealed that before a comedian even takes the stage, they're asked to edit out anything from their act that may cause offense, leaving a world where more and more topics are off limits, and soon there'll be nothing left to joke about except airline food and Starbucks getting your name wrong.
It's a refreshing change to see Donald Trump demanding that colleges take responsibility and clean house, especially when it comes to professors who treat classrooms as stages for political preaching rather than spaces for genuine education. For far too long, universities have been accused of letting faculty push personal ideologies under the banner of teaching. Instead of fostering open inquiry and balanced discussion, too many institutions have allowed one-sided narratives to dominate, leaving students with little room to question or think independently. True education is about empowering students to think critically, engage in debate, and reach their own conclusions, not about turning them into echoes of their professors' beliefs. By challenging this culture and urging schools to dismiss those who cross the line from education into indoctrination, Trump is highlighting an overdue issue that needs serious reform. A university should be a training ground for curiosity, diversity of thought, and intellectual courage, not a factory of conformity. When freedom of expression is suppressed, learning loses its meaning. Comedy, free speech, and higher education all suffer under the weight of cancel culture and ideological control. From Will Smith's infamous Oscars slap to Sarah Silverman's controversial satire, from Nimesh Patel's cancelled comedy set to students silenced for their opinions, the trend is undeniable. Fear is replacing freedom. The courage to speak is being replaced by the pressure to conform. Real progress only thrives when society encourages open dialogue, honest disagreement, and fearless conversation. If you enjoyed this discussion, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.